Hello, my name is Michael Holcroft. I'm responsible for marketing with Envirocreate, and today I have a discussion with the founder of Envirocreate, Stephen Jenner. At the moment, he's on his way to the USA, and he's got some time today to talk with us about the future of Envirocreate and what's coming up in the future. So, hello, Stephen.
Hello, Michael. How are you?
I'm fine, thanks. Yeah.
Good, good, good. Nice to see you.
How are your travels?
Ah, beautiful, beautiful weather. Can't fault it. Lovely
Okay.
weather.
How much?
We're here.
How much have you got? How many degrees?
Sorry, say again.
How many degrees is it outside now?
Oh, it's about 32 here, so it's very nice.
Okay. So you're wearing a suit and tie.
Well, this is the good news about air conditioning. Very useful.
Okay. Good. We are going to talk about what's happening with Envirocreate, and the first question I've got is the following: what do you mean by accelerating nature?
Well, it's very simple, really. As we know, with the water cycle as a whole, the sea water is then evaporated into the atmosphere. It condenses in the atmosphere, forms clouds, and then it participates when there's a build-up and causes to rain upon the land or the sea, and then that's then collected in rivers and streams, and then basically comes back to the sea again, and it's cycled very, very simply. And the beauty about the water is when it's distilled and then comes down onto the ground, it then provides water for nature and growth to appear upon the land, and water for the animals and for our own human beings.
Okay. So what does actually then accelerating mean in the case of Envirocreate?
Well, this is where Envirocreate has produced a new type of desalination, which is using thermal desalination, which everyone's pretty aware of. It basically does exactly the same as what Mother Nature does, but it accelerates it, and basically we can produce anything from it, the region of just a few thousand litres a day up to many trillions of litres a day. It's entirely sizable, and we can do this very, very easily and simply, but the ability to keep itself clean internally has always been the critical issue with desalination, and this is something that Envirocreate has overcome, and now we provide it to the world as we know it.
Okay, so that means basically you are just using the same methods that are around us in Mother Nature, if you want to call it that. That means you're basically heating water. It's going to be turned to steam. The steam would be distilled then through a distillation process, and you have, as a result, then water and byproducts.
Correct. And it's exactly the same as what Mother Nature does. The sun comes on. We're using the power of the sun. So the more the solar energy in the area, the more water it produces. It's proportional to the solar energy available. This can work either in an atmospheric or a vacuum conditioned scenario. So we can therefore work in the possibility of outer space applications too.
Okay. You're saying solar. That's not solar panels in that case, though, is it?
No, it's completely different. It's a new technology that's able to use concentrated sun rays to basically, very similar to when you see people using solar thermal activity upon roofs or systems that can actually then create hot water or for steam from sun-related application.
Okay. Okay. What else can you? What else happens then with a unit, an Envirocreate unit? You produce fresh water, or you produce clean water. You have byproducts. What sort of byproducts could that be?
Well, as we know, seawater contains a number of minerals and salts, etc. And what do you do with those byproducts that come from the water? It's completely distilled, so you're going to get a concentrate of byproducts, being salts and different types of minerals that comes from the sea or from a grey water or black water source. But because the water is distilled, it's pure, and it's then a fresh canvas for anyone to use. But the byproducts itself can be then recycled, bagged, and sold separately. Very simple.
Okay. You just said something about grey water or black water. That means for me that means sewage.
Correct.
What's the situation?
Could be sewage, could be oil wells, could be anything. Literally any type of water source, contaminated water, anything. But because we use thermal activity, and it basically steams the water off that substance, therefore the water is pure. But then you are left with a byproduct, and it's what to do with that byproduct. Is it a concern to the environment, or is it an issue where it could be utilized? And this is where Envirocreate is actually able to correct that material and change the metallic and the molecular structure of that, and bring those harmful chemicals, if in that black water, back to its natural elements, or recycle it like oil. We could actually use technology that's already existing to bring the oil back into usable format. So like we could use like oil wells and take up all the water that's caught, and then recycle the good quality products that's actually as a byproduct from that water source.
Okay, so you're saying that where oil coming out of a well is contaminated with water, in that case, is that you can separate the water out of this waste water to produce fresh water, clear water, and the residue of the oil can be used then for oil-based products.
Absolutely.
Okay, good. So the next question that I have, I find it always fascinating that things like this can happen. So you just spoke beforehand about producing several thousand liters of water a day, up to several trillions, you said. Okay.
Correct.
Where do we start? What's the smallest unit and what's the biggest unit?
The smallest unit is we do on the back of a lorry, which is about 5,000 litres or 5 tons, metric tons of water a day, okay, up to 75 tons of water a day on back of lorries, up to 18-wheeler lorry system. And then we go into plant systems that can go from anything, small plants, 100 tons a day, up to as big as you want, many billions. It's entirely sizable to the required need of that nation or the factory or system that's trying to utilize fresh water to use in their plants or the public as a whole.
Okay. Talking about the container-based units, where do you see them being implemented? What sort of operational area would they have?
Well, they can be used in a number of areas. I think we've actually looked at particular areas of oil wells and also national disaster areas that have gone without fresh water issues, where we could then send one of these lorries used via WaterAid or some sort of organization, could then basically use the power of the sun to generate clean water. Even on a cloudy day, it still can be used, but of course the water production is a lot limited. It's just down to solar energy on that side, but it self-produces its own water, and every litre of water it produces, it's producing an average of around about 1 kilowatt of electricity at the same time, so it can self-run itself at the same time, and therefore be able to produce its own electric energy source and also the water required for the area.
Does it also mean that if you have surplus energy, in that case electricity, that you can power other things as well as the production unit?
Yeah, all surplus energy could go off grid if required, or on grid. Okay. It's entirely the choice of the organisation or the company concerned. Yeah. Okay,
so that means anywhere there's been an earthquake, a hurricane, where a natural disaster has occurred, you see these units being implemented in these areas?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Very simply.
Good.
Yes. And a lot more applications are coming out, like I said, oil well applications where you're sending lorries or vehicles to those areas to basically also offer decontamination in those areas too.
Cleaning up basically
Right.
areas which have been contaminated. Okay.
Yeah.
How far would that go, contamination? Oil wells is one thing, but there are other things as well which need decontamination. How far would you see that going?
Well, the technology is able to super age, so we can actually bring back chemicals to the natural elements, but also isotopes, etc., could, in theory, be brought back to its natural elements, like granite, for example.
Okay.
Some sort of radiation damage that's in that area. Also, materials such as harmful products within the soil could actually be removed and separated and brought back to their natural elements too.
So that would mean a contaminated factory, for example, you could basically use it to decontaminate the ground.
Correct.
Okay. That sounds very interesting, I would say. Okay. Land-based units, of course, if you're talking about millions of tons of water a day, how does that work? You would need an area where you could actually set up a unit like that. How would that work? Would you just make one big unit, or would it be several different, several smaller units, which would be in?
It's down to the need of the client or the country. If a country requires it, where there's many millions of people live, then you would buy the system that would actually suit their requirements. The beauty about this, because the cost of water for a large system, like in the sense of the 1 billion ton a day system, would actually be executing to around about 2 cents per ton to produce it. So if we sold water at 50 cents or $1, whatever price that we was set in legislation from that local government or national government, it could then make money over time, pay for the loan within a 6 to 7 year period after the site is actually manufactured, and therefore monies are returned back into that organization or that country in the region of 120 to 150 billion dollars, United States dollars per year.
Oh, it's a lot of money.
And therefore that basically pays the loan back with the interest, because we're talking many trillions to basically produce these systems for the large, but right down to many millions. So it's entirely the need of what is required of the application and where it goes to.
Okay.
Their company.
So you're basically saying that the customer would have to say what needs he has, and the system that he gets would be fitted into the parameters. Okay. Correct. So that's normal, I would say. Good. One other thing I had, which has been interesting me for some time, is you just said that the cost of the water could go down to 2 cents a ton. What sort of the units which are in the market today, they are completely different as far as the technology is concerned. I've understood that, but what's the difference with the pricing between an Envirocreate system and a normal system that we have today?
It differs quite considerably. People out there are going to know how much they spend per ton of water production costs. And it could range from anything like 50 cents up to many dollars. It's entirely what it is basically the ability that only Mother Nature we can do is cheaper than what is basically available. You know, we're just slightly more expensive than what Mother Nature produces water at.
Okay.
So the costs today, we want to look at working with partnerships. We're not interested in competitors. We want to work with people. We want to make people work with us in a long term, because we're talking not only because the systems itself is 25 years of warranty. So we're looking at long term centuries of systems. So we're looking at working with already existing companies that actually develop and produce water and work with us in the long term and capture the vision that we're trying to do to basically produce water for mankind in a way absolutely incredible for the future ahead, that gives food and water and good soil in every area of society.
Yeah, I certainly see the advantages of the Envirocreate system. I look at the various regions in our world, and we are all basically running with open eyes into a worldwide drought. Just looking at where I'm living, for example, I'm seeing increasing reports in the news that the upper levels of rivers, the streams, and the brooks, which are basically the beginning of a river, they're drying up this year. They're completely dried up, and they're losing the whole populations of fish and other creatures in these streams. Now, Germany doesn't have a problem with water shortage per se. They don't have that, but you can certainly see that even here, that the environment is getting, how can you say, it's getting stressed. It's getting very stressed, and the last year was very much the case of the agricultural or the production had major problems because they just didn't have enough moisture in the fields to produce the wheat and corn and all the other crops that they were actually planting. So even here in this part of the world, I see major problems coming to us. Can Envirocreate or the Envirocreate system work here?
Absolutely. The answer's everywhere. Of course, it works purely with this solar energy. It's designed to, the more the energy, solar energy available, the more water it will produce. It will work even on the North and South Pole. It's just down to water production and you would therefore have to, as we do with solar panels, you work out the amount of solar energy in those areas, and then you equate the actual energy that will actually be produced over the year and equate monies that will be returned to the consumer. What we're doing is basically we're looking at land that is a waste of land, like wildernesses and deserts. That we could put a plant in and change and transform that land from a unfertile to a very fertile area, and basically change a desert and wilderness into the Garden of Eden. The way we do that is we, from the byproducts of sewage and also other areas of material like biophosphates, etc., we can therefore create soil enhancement products by what the byproducts we get from the water, and basically recycle it into peat, for instance, sewage. Everyone knows about the biodigesters. What it does, it produces two byproducts. One is a type of peat, and which is either organic or non-organic, depending on where this water source comes from. And then we also have the water that's recycled, which you can very easily do. But then that material we can then put in with biophosphates and other fertilizers, etc., etc. People are very clever out there, and we would want to tap into those skills, and then put that into the land, grow many millions of trees in a nursery, work with horticulturalists, have our own greenhouses, etc., etc., have natural plant irrigational systems, basically self-generate in time. So in the end, we could change a desert into a garden or into trees or forests, and change the microclimate in that area very simply.
Good. That was one of the next questions I had, is to ask what your ideas on ecologies are, and of course I think climate change is something which is which we're all experiencing. As I said, here in Germany, it's very much the case that we are certainly noticing the lack of water over the last couple of years. This is, for as far as I can see, the major point is that starting off with water and the byproducts which you would produce, you would certainly have a major influence on the region that you are actually working in. Is that the way you see it?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
100% of energy, 100% of resources, 100% of water coming in would be recycled. The products there, recycled. There would be no CO2 coming from these plants because we would utilize that, because we would capture the carbon that's basically emitted if there is any emissions, because we try and recycle as almost probably 99.9% of the energy that's combusted into that plant. We would utilize it, and we would basically recycle it, and therefore produce then water and these other byproducts on a continuous basis.
Okay. What sort of other areas do you see Envirocreate going into? You just said something about biophosphor. What would that be?
Well, this is we're working to one or two colleagues at the moment, and they're producing from bone meal biophosphates, which I won't go down because, of course, this is expertise in those fields. But we would use that for soil enhancements. So basically, desert, wilderness area land is full of stones and pebbles. We would therefore change that into a fertile area using this material, but also the byproducts of sewage and other organic material that we do. And as we grow the trees, of course, if it's a deciduous tree, it basically the leaves will drop, and then they're going to an organic material as well, which is useful for them to enhance the soil underneath the trees. So 100% of what Mother Nature does, we basically enhance and accelerate.
Okay.
That's the simplicity of Envirocreate.
Okay. So I think the last thing I should ask you today is, what are your personal wishes for our planet?
Well, I would like to see every single human being deserve enough water and food for every single individual across the planet. And at the same time, with renewable technology today, is a problem because we're always looking for subsidies from governments, etc., and it's unaffordable. What we're looking at is making money at the same time for investors, for governments' revenues, and to basically produce systems that's able to not only produce water, but able to produce enough money to make people take note, businesses to take note, and for governments to take note, to be able to change the way they think, the way society works, to be able to provide a system that's able to create its own energy, its own water, and also make money for the revenue in a way that basically puts money back into the economy, for not only the best for the people, but also for the best for the governments. So they can then spend that money onto national health services or other areas which requires funding in those areas. Also, we would look at enhancing technology that people bring up, because very many people are very clever out there. There are scientists and engineers and business analysts who are bringing out new ideas every day, and to tap into those ideas and to work with them to create the best for society and for the world today.
Great stuff. I'm looking forward to seeing how this all works out, and I would like to be a part of it also. I would like to say very many thanks for sitting with me today and answering my questions. It was just the same, always interesting to talk to you, and I like hearing about your plans for the future. That was, for me, the same as it always has been. It's always been very interesting. So I have a couple of things just to round up the meeting today. Envirocrate is looking for investors. So if you are interested in going into this future technology with Stephen Jenner, then you can also contact us through the Envirocreate page on LinkedIn or on Facebook. You can also catch us on envirocreate.eu. There you can actually find our telephone numbers and call us if you need any information about the future of Envirocreate and what it actually offers for investors. So I think that's about it for today, Stephen. Anything that you can think of which we need to quote now?
I think there's a lot of work that's being produced, a lot of ideas that's coming through. I think that what we're seeing is, if you can imagine, lots of the sites are going to have a golf course, 5-star hotels, facilities, etc., that offers not only to the company but also to the general public, to enhance the area, to create jobs, thousands of jobs in the future, to bring the best of the economy around the globe, and also to work in astronautical applications as well. Because I think if we can do this, it's best for everyone, and we can see everyone receiving a good income and producing non-skilled workers into very skilled workers, and basically be able to provide better for their families and homes.
Yeah. Okay, very many thanks for being with me today, and I hope everybody has learned something from it at least today. Thank you, Stephen.